sa lahat, gusto kong pasalamatan ng COMELEC kasi I think a few months ago, ako ay lumipat ako ng presinto. Very smooth ang naging takbo, mabilis. Binigay na po lahat ng COMELEC, lahat ng mga considerations. No? Sabado kasi marami pong nagwo-work. Yan ang isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit hindi nagpaparehistro ang marami. Kasi noon dati, weekdays lang yung di sila lumiliban sa kanilang trabaho, ayaw nila. Kasi pera yun eh. So ngayong may Sabado na, pero yun ang isang motivation na dapat nating gawin na tayo ay magparehistro. More than the question what motivates them, siguro mahalaga din yung what doesn't motivate them to vote or to even register. It's really not apathy in the sense na wala akong pakialam sa bayan ko. But really is, sometimes when we look at some of our leaders, nadi-discourage ka na nagwo-work pa ba ang halalan? Diba? May mga ganong mga nagwo-work pa ba dahil parang yung mga leaders na nakikita natin parang hindi naman sila naglingkod sa atin masyado. Yung iba naman parang iniisip na lang yan, lahat tayo laro lang ito ng politiko. Laro lang ito ng politiko tapos parang tayo ginagamit lang mga butante. Yung mga ganyang kaisipan na parang sinasabi ko, wag nating isipin yon kasi bagamat totoong malakas yung kanilang kakayahang magmaniobra, diba? Magmaniobra ng eleksyon daw or at least sa kampanya at the edge, may edge, dun sa kampanya. Yung isang boto mo, wag mong papalitin yun. Kasi yung isang boto na yun, makakatulong yun. At kung hindi yan nabibili, diba? Sagradong boto yun na binibigay sa atin ng ating konstitusyon na yun ang kapangyarihan nating makisali sa demokrasya in a direct way to choose our leaders. Ito nga yung sinasabi nun ng mga tao noong 1986 na presidential elections na pinakita ng Pilipino na kaya niyang ipaglaban kahit masaktan siya, kahit mamatay siya, ang boto. No? So alam niya ganun kasagrado yun at pinahahalagahan niya ng maraming tao. Kaya buhay na buhay ang eleksyon sa Pilipinas.
You know, you're voting for president, vice president, senators, party list, congressman, mayors, governors, hanggang councilor. So, what if talo yung bet mo for president? Talo yung lahat ng binoto mo for senators na 12. Talo yung governor. Pero, panalo yung isang councilor na baguhan na sa tingin mo marami siya magagawa sa city mo. That person can be the change that you're looking for.
Before, I really have a negative connotation when it comes to our electoral voting. But as for now, because I think we are in the cusp of history, if Professor Shah would try to characterize it, I think it's time for us, especially as youth, who were before so passive, apathetic, and cynical, to be more active and exercise this right so that we can contribute more for the change of our nation. So, tinitingnan ko kasi yung kahalagahan noon kasi siguro hindi natin masasabi, pero sa ngayon kasi kaming mga estudyante na nasa sa mga state universities and campuses is really challenge of our political milieu sa ngayon. So, God willing po, ikakampanya po natin yung pagre-rehistro.
Cheska and welcome to another episode of Online Crashtalkan brought to you by Pinas Forward. Para sa mga netizens na ngayon lang natin nakasama, ang Pinas Forward ay isang nation-building movement. At kung may online trash talkan at rambulan, ang online crash talkan naman ay isang safe space para sabay-sabay natin pag-usapan ng mga halagang issues na kinakaharap natin bilang isang DigiNation. Before I proceed, I would just like to invite everyone to join in on the conversation by posting your comments and questions in the comment section below. Alright, let's proceed to our topic for today. Para mas maintindihan natin ang pag-uusapan natin sa araw na ito, let's all watch this.
Isang taon na nating kinakalaban ang COVID-19 virus dito sa ating bansa. Pero bakit parang back to start?
COVID-19 cases in the Philippines on the rise a year into the longest and one of the most stringent pandemic lockdowns in the world.
Hanggang 5,000 bagong kaso ng COVID-19 sa kada araw sa Metro Manila. Kung hindi maitatama ang ilang dahilan ng pagkalat ng virus.
The underlying cause are because of the non-compliance to the health protocols.
Dikit-dikit ng tao. Ito na ngayon ang resulta.
Isa sa posibleng dahilan ay ang pagpasok ng mga bagong variant ng COVID-19.
Philippine authorities have imposed targeted lockdowns in different parts of Manila.
The problem is parang we're back to where we started from. Even those not in the front lines are also getting sick.
Nasa 80% na raw ang occupancy sa 20 ospital sa Metro Manila.
Ang pag-asa ngayon ay ang mga bakunang unti-unti nang ibinibigay sa mga health worker.
Hindi naman yan bababa agad-agad eh. Kailangan natin magtulungan para mapababa yan.
Good evening, everybody! Magandang gabi sa'yo, James!
Good evening din, Cheska. At nakaka-1 year na tayong nag-good eveningan.
Happy anniversary! Alright, no? Grabe, isang taon na nga po magmula nung ginulantang ang buong mundo ng isang pandemya. Isang taon na rin po tayong naka-lockdown at binansagan pa tayong pinakamahabang lockdown sa buong mundo. Muli po nating balikan sa episode na ito, babalikan natin ang mga naganap ng nakaraang taon. And I think we should also take this opportunity to remember all those that we have lost to the virus, no? Not only our friends and family, but also our frontliners, the essential workers, most especially our medical workers. So nakikiramay po ang Pinas Forward sa inyo. And we will never forget, no, these people who have lost their lives, especially in the front line. Ayan, James, gusto ko lang i-preface yung ating discussion bilang 1 year na po natin nga nilalabanan itong virus na ito.
Oo, at may mga nagsasabing happy anniversary. Wala pong happy dito sa nangyayari sa atin ngayon. At mapapatunayan yan ng ating mga guests for tonight. Dahil kakamustahin natin ang COVID lockdown sa mata ng ating mga guests tonight. Umpisahan na natin sa ating current contact tracing czar and the mayor of Baguio City. Second time around. Please welcome Mayor Benjie Magalong.
Good evening, Mayor, and welcome back to our show.
Good evening, James. Good evening, Cheska. Good evening po sa ating mga televiewers.
Maraming salamat for
good evening,
being
Mayor.
Yes, ang ating next guest naman, isa siyang infectious disease specialist, no? So napaka very substantial ang ibibigay niyang information sa atin. Sa gabing ito, please welcome Dr. Solante. Good evening po.
Hi, Cheska, James. Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Solante. And also from the public, isa po siyang public health expert. Please welcome Dr. Francisco Cruz, MD.
Good evening, Doc.
Magandang gabi, Cheska at James. Magandang gabi, Dr. Solante at Mayor Magalong.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
And last but definitely not the least, no, the Director General of the International Chamber of Commerce Philippines. Please welcome Mr. Jess Varela.
Thank you. Good evening to all of you, mga kasama natin, sina Mayor Benjie, Dr. Francis, Dr. Solante. Magandang gabi sa inyo lahat. Pati na rin sa lahat na nakikinig at nanonood sa atin ngayong gabi.
Ayan. So, eto ang ating lineup ngayong gabi. Napaka-exciting natin pag-uusapan. Kung meron naman kayo, lahat ng mga nanonood dyan sa Facebook at YouTube, kung may mga katanungan kayo or comments or reactions para sa ating mga guests ngayong gabi, please don't hesitate to use the comment section. Pero syempre, katulad na sinabi natin kanina, ito ay isang safe space. So, please observe kindness and always be polite. Kasi this is the only way that we can have a discussion. Tayo ay polite and kind. At pwede kayong manalo ng 2,000 pesos via GCash. Para malaman kung paano itong mangyayari, stick around until the end of our show kasi doon namin ibibigay yung mechanics ng ating game na iyon. Okay, so let's start with our discussion, James.
Yes, 1 year nating hinintay ito. At ngayon, simulan na natin kasi kanina nakikita ko yung mga guests natin talagang pumped up na sa pagdidiscuss. So, umpisahan na natin with our first guest, Mayor Magalong. Mayor, kamusta na po ang ito? Nakaka 1 year na po tayo dito sa ating lockdown. At kamusta na po? Nasa na po ba ang ating laban sa COVID-19? Where are we in terms of number of cases, testing, and of course, your expertise, contact tracing, and ngayong nangyayari ngayong taon, yung vaccination rollout?
Okay, unahin ko muna yung contact tracing, James, at Jessica. Good evening pala sa ating mga panauhin. Si Sir Jess, si Doc Francis, and Doc Solante. Alam niyo, pagdating sa contact tracing, ang ating contact tracing efficiency ratio nationwide, nandito tayo sa average na 1:7. In fact, nagre-range tayo sa 1:6 hanggang 1:9. There was a time na umakyat tayo ng 1:10, pero bumaba pa rin tayo ulit sa 1:7. Yan lang tayo lagi sa range na yan. And at the same time, yung ating testing capacity, may mga lugar tayo matataas na mga test density. Pero may mga lugar naman na medyo mababa, sobrang baba naman ang test density. At sometimes it relates to, politics, kung bakit mababa. Later on, i-explain ko yan. In terms of vaccination naman, while there was a delay nung last week, pero ngayon, nung February, pero ngayon pinapaspasan na. In fact, I'm now in another meeting on vaccine being presided by Secretary Galvez. At binabanggit niya yung mga latest development on the vaccines, ano yung mga darating na vaccines para ma-cover natin lahat yung ating mga health workers. And next na by April, meron na naman darating na ilang million na vaccines to cover our senior citizens o yung mga elders with comorbidity.
Alright.
Maraming
Yon,
salamat,
Jessica.
Mayor. Ayan. Thank you so much, Mayor. Yes.
Preliminary pa lang.
Mamaya, Mayor, magdidigdi pa tayo dyan sa kamustahan regarding sa COVID-19. Ngayon, Jessica, may gusto ka ba itanong kay
Yes, kay
Dr.
Dr. Solante. Doc, with the new, may mga bagong COVID variants po tayo ngayon, no? May UK, Brazilian, at ngayon may Philippine variant na raw po. Nangangahulugan po ba na mas mahihirapan tayong sugpuin ng pandemyang ito? Kumbaga parang mas the end is not in sight na ba ngayon dahil nga may mga bagong strains?
Yeah, so sa information ng karamihan, no? Yes, we have the 3 variants, pero if you look at, kung titingnan natin yung extent at widespread nitong mga variants na to, generally very low, no? So hindi pa rin natin masasabi na these are the variants that are currently dominant in the Philippines, no? Unlike in UK, in the US, or in South Africa. So I would say na despite the presence of this variant, hindi pa rin nagbabago yung way we prevent or yung mga measures natin na pinapaalala sa mga publiko dahil with or without this variant, this can still be prevented by following those health protocol, no? Implementation is very important. And in fact, kung makikita natin sa data ngayon, napaka-konti pa lang nitong mga variants na to, although their risk of being highly transmissible may be higher than the old variant, but the method of how we will protect our individual, our people is the same.
Okay. Ayun,
Okay,
so
thank
narinig
you.
nyo yun, no? Everybody, wear your mask. Try to stay inside as much as you can. At mag-social distance. Yes, James?
Oo, kasi nahihirapan rin ang ating mga health workers sa ating mga frontliners. Kagaya ulit nung last year, parang replay ang nangyayari. Doc Francis, kamusta naman po ang ating mga doctors and medical professionals? May mga naglalabasan po kasi balita ng mga full capacity or almost full capacity na yung mga hospital natin because of COVID cases. Gaano po ito katotoo?
Well, ang impending surge is happening, no? One is because we're improving on case finding, no? Particularly yung ginagawa nga ni Mayor Magalong. And basically, we should incorporate yung case finding natin dun sa whole gamut of outbreak investigation. Then, ang good news kasi dito sa, well, if I call it good news, nag-improve po ang case management hospital care. Since we saw COVID-19 cases last year. They're mas magagaling ngayon ng mga doktor. Alam nila kung ano yung mga importanteng gagawin nila. Alam nila din ang komunidad, yung early diagnosis. So, alam nila kung ano yung nararamdaman, dapat dali sa hospital, etc. That's the good point of it. It's not we're being dragged by poor case finding. We're being ang term ko dito po ang tingin ko, we should start from the basic para alam natin sa tayo patungo na medyo nagkakagulo tayo kasi ang expectation ng tao, matatapos to. Hindi po matatapos ang COVID-19. It would be here in the next 5 to 15 years or even 2 decades. Just like viral influenza. Everybody had viral influenza o yung trangkaso. I remember when I was young, grade school, I missed classes every year for 1 or 2 days. But still, hindi ako nahuhuli sa pag-aaral. Ganun din yung mga parents ko, ganun din yung mga klase ko. So we just have to apply certain public health strategies and principles correctly, no? Alisin natin sa isip natin, and I have to ask this from si Dr. Solante na ma-eradicate ito. Hindi po. The last disease that was eradicated was in the 1970s. Tinatawag nating smallpox. After that, they tried eradicating wild polio virus starting 1988. Hanggang ngayon, meron pang wild polio virus eradication initiative. Now you have a new virus, itong COVID-19, na tingin naman natin compared to sa case fatality rate, hospital, ay manageable provided that we do correct strategic national health plan to control. Dapat public health measures po ang ina-apply dito. Wala nang iba. Ngayon, ang second ko pong comment lang doon na nag-a-apply na-mention nga ni Dr. Solante na doon sa isang video niya sinabi na kasi hindi sumusunod yung mga tao sa protocol. Sinasabi ko we must learn to change behavior. We must empower the families and the communities and not make this intervention na pababa, top-down approach, yung parang nag-impose ka, no? Pag hindi nila sinunod, huhulihin mo. Pag sisitahin mo, tatawagin. You shouldn't do it that way. Hindi po, wala pong historically, I'm talking about historical experience sa Pilipinas. Wala pong behavioral change kung ikaw mananakot. Wala po. Alam niyo po yung, I'll cite 2 big examples na success sa public health promotion, community-based. In 1970s, napakababa po. Parating may namamatay, nagkakasakit mga bata dahil sa tinatawag namin vaccine preventable disease. So what did WHO and UNICEF did? Nag-train po sila ng mga barangay health station, health work sa barangay health station, rural health unit, na papuntahin yung mga nanay, dalhin yung mga infant sila para maagang mabakuna. Kaya pagdating noong 1985 po, because of this community-based health promotion, nag-change ang behavior. Dala-dala na ng mga nanay ang kanilang bagong silang sa health center na kusa. At ito, kasi pag immunization po, sunod-sunod yan And basically what happened? In 1985, no less than UNICEF James Grant. Ito po, mababalidate nyo. Si James Grant po, dating head ng UNICEF, declared universal child immunization of 85%. Madami pong bumaba pagkamatay ng mga sanggol at mga bata. Madami pong mga batang hindi nagkasakit o hindi na ospital at naging malusog. Yun ang first example po na sinasabi ko.
Doc.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Doc. Baka mamaya mapag-usapan natin yan in full detail, no? But right now, I'd like to ask Mr. Varela, sir, 1 year on, no? 1 year na po tayo. Gaano po kalaki ang naging epekto ng pandemyang ito sa ating ekonomiya? Ano po ang epekto for both the big and small businesses?
Nako, napakalaki, no? Pero naniniwala ako sa sinasabi ni Dr. Francis, no? Kailangan matuto tayo. We have to live with the virus. Dahil matagal yan, eh. No, hindi kung lagi tayong matatakot, wala mangyayari sa atin. Ngayon, ano na naging epekto ng itong pinakamahabang lockdown sa buong mundo? No? Ayokong maging isang sugo ng sonerismo, no? Kaya I'll try to be more accurate and factual. For example, in 2020, DTI came up with released the figure na sa mga micro and small industries, 52.6% ang nagsara. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Yung micro and small, 91% of the entire establishments in the Philippines. Isipin nyo, yung 92% niyan, 52.6 nagsara. Yung mga naiwan, tulad ng 8% ng medium, tsaka yung 0.4, 8.6 ang medium, 0.4 ng large. No? Mga diyan, they were weighing the situation. Magpapatuloy ba ako o magsasara ako? Tulad ng isang tanggapan na pinangangasiwaan ko, yung GS1 Philippines, merong mga 5,000 aktibong kumpanyang miyembro dito. In 2020, 1,007 na nagsara. Mahigit 300 ang nagsabi sa akin, hindi titingnan namin kung magpapatuloy kami. No? Yung mga epekto niyan ang nagpapahirap niyan. Pero ito sa Philippine Statistics Authority, ano ang report nila? Yung domestic trade, no, yung volume, yung dami ng yung trade sa atin nung fourth quarter last year ay bumaba ng 53.5% from third quarter. And what in real terms, that's from 177 billion to 82 billion. Pero yung third quarter, bumaba yung compared sa second quarter ng mga 28%. Dire-diretso ang baba because of the lockdown. Ngayon, kaya nga ang problema, magla-lockdown pa rin ba tayo? Hindi ko maintindihan bakit pinagpapangga yung kalusugan at kabuhayan. No, that must be balanced. Wealth and health should be balanced. At ang fulcrum yan, ang pamahalaan na nandiyan naman ang sektor pribado na siyang laging handa para tumulong. Tulad na lang pagtutulong ng mga malalaking kumpanya. Yung umpisang hindi natin naiintindihan ano ba itong COVID-19. They stood up and dyan yung mga grupo ni na Andrew Tan, nagbigay ng mga 4.1 billion, sina RSA, mahigit 4 na bilyon, hindi rin nagpalao sina Rason, sina Pangilinan, mga Ayala. Yan, tulong yan eh. Hindi lumalabas ang mga malalaki. Pero kailangan iniisip din natin yung kabuhayan. Kasi kung puro lockdown ang iisipin natin, no, kailangan handa ang pamahalaan na magbigay ng ayuda. At hindi yung ayuda, bibigyan mo ng 5,000 para sa isang taon, ay hindi mabubuhay. At ang malaking problemang kinatatakutan namin, pag ito ay naghirap, nagutom ang mga tao, tatakas ang kriminalidad.
Ayan.
Yun lang muna.
Maganda pong punto yan, Sir Jess. At nabanggit niyo na rin po yung pamahalaan. What a coincidence, meron po tayo dito from our government. Mayor Magalong, sir, ang gusto po natin na kagaya po ng mga punto po nila Sir Jess at Doc Francis, yung plano po ng gobyerno. Ano po ang gusto nating ma-achieve ngayon dito sa herd immunity? Kasi lagi po nating naririnig ngayon yan. At pwede po ba nating maipaliwanag ng kaunti sa ating mga viewers kung ano po itong herd immunity at ano po yung plano ng gobyerno para maisakatuparan po ito?
Well, ang sabi ng ating mga vaccine experts, you don't have really to to vaccinate 100% of the target population. Ang ibig ko sabihin target population, kasi ang tatanggalin natin dyan is 17-year-old and below kasi wala nga sufficient study kung ano yung impact, ano yung repercussion pag nag-vaccinate ka ng 17-year-old and below. Kaya tatanggalin natin yan doon sa mga target population natin, list of vaccinees o yung group for vaccination. And then, doon sa natitirang population, titingnan natin yung 70%. O another reason bakit 70% lang is because of cost issue rin, ano? Hindi naman kaya ng isang local government to vaccinate 100% dahil it will entail a huge cost and will entail, getting so much from its budget. So, ang gagawin natin is targeting 70% will already ensure the tinatawag nating herd immunity dahil nga pag ang explanation nila is pag na-vaccinate yung 70%, then ang matitira is 30%. Eventually, itong 30%, kung magkakaroon ng infection sa kanila, wala na silang ibang may infect because in itself, they will already develop yung tinatawag nating immunity. Probably the best person to explain that, kasi hindi naman ako a medical expert, would be Doc Francis o si Doc Solante.
Yan.
Eh di makisusog po dun sa herd immunity.
Sige po, Doc
Yes.
Francis.
Kasi I consider myself as a public health vaccination expert, not a vaccine expert as was mentioned. No? Medyo may kasama po ako dun sa pagbabakuna ng mga bata ng universal immunization, yung tinatawag ni Flavier Oplan Addis disease. Ito po lang kino-contest ko yung sa definition ng herd immunity kasi nagkakalabuan po dyan eh. I don't know where they got the figure of 70%. Historically, and we have to use history kasi hindi pwede dito, kasi since these are new emergency vaccines. Okay, hindi po to yung normal na vaccine katulad ng polio, measles, DPT, hepatitis B. Ito po yung na-invento, hindi na kompleto yung kanilang trial, minadali kasi may pandemic daw. Okay. Let me clarify. And I'm using the term herd immunity in the context of public health vaccination. Ito po nasa libro at ginagamit ng Batikan. Kasi pag sinabi nila 70%, vaccine coverage po yun. It is not herd immunity. And the vaccine you're using now, lahat pong vaccines kayo na, whether it be itong messenger RNA ng Pfizer, Moderna at itong mga lumang method ng Sinovac. I'm using old, not necessarily but effective, no. Ito po hindi na prevent ang infection. Nagpe-prevent lang po to ng disease. So himayin natin. What do I mean by infection? When you say infection, you have a carrier ka nung COVID, SARS-CoV-2. Meron ka sa katawan. Pag sinabi naman disease, pwede ka asymptomatic o pwede kang magpiprevento na mamatay ka o ma-hospital ka. Magkaiba po to. Hindi po siya itong mga vaccines natin ngayon. And I like to clarify this and I like to pose a challenge to those who are telling the President and even IFTF yung concept ng herd immunity. These vaccines do not have sterilizing immunity, hence cannot protect the vaccinated from being infected or even transmitting the infection. So how do you have herd immunity? Okay, second, assuming you have a vaccine na ready ngayon na nagpo-produce ng sterilizing immunity, where did they get 70%? Ito kasi ito, prebahan na hindi to pwede bola-bolahan eh. Yung pong measles, which is highly more infectious than COVID-19, 90% po ang target to attain herd immunity. Yung wild polio virus, which is less contagious, 80%. So where did they get 70%? Ano ito eh? Bola-bolahan eh. Di ba? So sabi ko, take out herd immunity, it is impossible to attain herd immunity in this type of vaccines that do not have what we call sterilizing immunity. Wala po. Kaya magbabakuna ka para lang bumaba. Ang gamit po ng mga bakuna na pinamimigay ng gobyerno ngayon is para konting mamatay, konting magka-serious illnesses, at konting ma-hospital. Yun po yung talagang gamit kasi pwede mo gamitin siya kung dahil kung ang type mo, morbidity, mortality. Ito, we need to clarify Kasi masyado ng in-orient in the context of public health vaccination, herd immunity and vaccination coverage which are not even reported, which are not even validated by special studies, are not the same and cannot be used interchangeably.
Okay.
Yun po yung masasabi ko.
Sige po, Doc Francis, total nabanggit nyo na rin po yung sa government. Hingan ko lang po ng konting reaction si Mayor Magalong regarding that.
Okay.
Well, I cannot argue with Doc Francis kasi siya na nga ang expert. Ang sa akin lang is what I hear from experts. I'm just nire-re-echo ko lang sa inyo. So if I've been reading also some items, some articles on herd immunity. Tama nga naman si Doc Francis. Right now, we still don't fully understand yung behavior nitong virus na to. It does not also guarantee na someone who is infected will really have absolute immunity. Kasi nagkakaroon tayo ng reinfection So that will also determine kung gaano ba talaga kailangan, ano ba talaga yung figure natin. Is it really 70% or 90%? It varies from one disease to another.
Alam mo,
Thank you, Mayor.
kasi
Yes,
kami,
Sir
sa
Jess.
mga negosyante, napakasimple namin mag-isip Na ayaw na namin sumakit ang ulo namin kasi hindi naman namin expertise yan. Pero yung mga kasulatan na nagsasabi sa amin na makaka-prevent ka ng kamatayan, good na yan. Good na yan.
Good na yan.
Lalaban mo na, isusugal mo na yan, kataya ka No? Kaysa sa wala. Kasi yung mga herd immunity, alam ko may formula yan Merong isang doktor na nakapagsabi sa akin kung paano gagawin yung herd immunity. Kasama doon sa mga factor doon yung sinasabi ni Mayor Benjie, yung 7, no? Kinumpute niya, lumabas 89%. Hindi naman 70 yung pinakita sa akin. But nonetheless, what is important, makakatulong ba yan to prevent us from getting into that critical stage and prevent death? Okay lang ma-infect ka para kang na-influensya ka pag nasisipong ka, maglaro ka ng golf, naulanan ka, magkakalagnat ka, pero gagaling ka hindi ka mamamatay. Iyon ang importante. Ganun lang kasimple, taya na kami dyan. Kaya kami, hinihiling namin sa pamahalaan, sana naman pahintulutan nyo kami pumapel at bumili at mag-import ng gamot para namang makasabay kami kasi ang feeling namin, kaya namin kumuha. May mga contact at network kami, makakakuha kami para habang inaayos ng gobyerno yung kanyang mga priorities, kami naman ayusin namin yung mga economic frontliners namin, mga empleyado namin, pamimigay namin ng libre to para halos sabay-sabay ang operations, di ba? Sabay-sabay yan No? Ang tingin namin, kung pagbibigyan kami, kunyari ang Philippine Chamber, sabihin, sige, pinahintulutan namin kayo, idadaan namin, kukunin namin yung gamot, bibigyan namin sa ospital para ma-administer sa mga empleyado namin. No?
Opo.
Asa ngayon, nahihirapan kami. Walang bakuna walang makita Pati yung tinatawag na equalizer, yung COVAX, dahil manggagaling sa WHO, nasaan na? Hindi mag-guarantee yung supply. Sa tingin namin, kami naman kung kailangan na kailangan, hindi namin pag-uusapan siguro yung presyo dyan maibigay lang para maibuksan ng mabuti ang pamahalaan. At sa ganon, nakakatulong pa kami sa gastos. Kung ano yung mabibili namin, maibabawas. Dapat ang gobyerno nga pababawasan ang gastos ng gobyerno. Pahintulutan yung mga sektor privado.
Okay, maganda po natin natin yung business side. Yes, from another expert naman po. Sorry, Cheska?
Yes. I just wanted to find out if si Dr. Salante, meron po ba siyang reaction on the discussion we just had on the vaccine?
Yeah, so I want to emphasize, actually, tama naman yung mga sinabi nila, no? But we are not target the herd immunity, no? We always want to target na itong mga bakuna na to na binibigay ngayon prevent the overwhelming capacity sa mga hospital. Okay? Importante yan dahil if you prevent moderate to severe disease, which all vaccines now has that capacity to prevent a moderate to severe disease, then that will also take out the healthcare facility burden. No. Now, if you look at the way the vaccine, so because I'm also a member of the vaccine expert panel, no, it's not 70. We're not targeting 70. We're targeting 100%. Just like other countries, no, we're targeting 100% na babakunahan. Why? Number one, we want to decrease the burden of the disease. What is the burden of the disease of this pandemic? It's the one who are going to the hospital. They are the ones who are taken care of in the ICU, in the ward. Ito napupuno ang mga hospital natin, no? And that's the objective of these vaccines. They are really good in preventing moderate to severe, okay? Now, on the aspect of infection, yung transmission, no? There are new data that is coming out, especially with few vaccines. Now, I will not like to mention this one, no, because I already disclosed myself as part of the VEP. Kami kasi yung nag-aaral doon sa mga ganitong bakuna kung ano yung mga sinasabit sa Philippines. Okay, and we have talked with all of these vaccine manufacturers, including the trialists, the different mechanism of these vaccines. There are, it's not just because they prevent moderate and severe. There are vaccines that can also block the transmission. Although the data are still raw and they are still analyzing it, but in a way, no, when you prevent the infection, when you prevent hospitalization, when you prevent a person being symptomatic, indirectly that has an impact on the transmission. Believe me, that's one of the things that we need to do. That's why we are encouraging everyone. Once vaccine is offered to you, it not only offers you protection, but also protection to the ones beside you, in front of you, or your coworkers.
Thank you, Doc. May mga nakikita na tayong mga questions sa comment section ngayon, no? And we will answer as much as we can later on. Pero right now, let's turn to this question by Roma Tejero. Ang tanong niya ay, ano po ang assurance ng bawat isa sa atin pag nabakunan ay na tayo sa COVID? Dr. Solante, maybe you can answer this question.
Yeah, so I'll have to enumerate, no, the four very important efficacy endpoints that we use in analyzing vaccine. Number one, how effective the vaccine, kung gaano siya ka-epektibo to prevent you from getting the infection na magiging symptomatic ka. That's one. Pangalawa, how effective the vaccine can prevent you that if you have symptoms, you will not go into moderate or severe. Pangatlo, how effective the vaccine can protect you, especially if you have comorbidities, no? Yung hypertension, diabetes, no? Yung mababa ang immune system. At number four, how important the vaccine can protect the elderly, the 60 years old and above population, because these are the population, if you look at our demographics of mortality in the Philippines, 60 to 70% of the mortality are in this age group. So those are the four. So those are the benefit that we need to get and look at vaccines.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Solante. And your thoughts na rin po regarding sa Octa research na by the end of this month, 11,000 na ang magiging surge natin ng active cases.
Yeah, that's a possibility. By the way we are looking into the exponential growth of the cases on a day-to-day basis, especially at this point in time, that's a possibility, and we need to really prevent that possibility, no? May panahon pa, no? May time pa tayo. And what is that? We have to really implement fully, strictly adherence to the minimum health protocol. Tapos itong mga sinasabi palagi namin, no, yung mga workplaces, household transmission. These are the areas now where most of the transmissions are occurring. If you look at the demographics of most of our patients, both in the private and the government hospitals, saan nangawahan? Sa household. Saan pa? Sa work. public transportation, kumakain sa labas, may gathering, nag-attend ng birthday, nag-attend ng meetings. These are the things that we should not be doing at this point in time. Hindi porke na may nakikita na tayong bakuna, we have to relax our behavior in terms of protecting ourselves.
Ayan, thank you, Doc. So, ibig sabihin, pero kasi ngayong 1 year na tayo in lockdown at 1 year na tayo nag-observe ng quarantine rules, no? Trying to stay indoors as much as possible. Hindi talaga may iwasan na magka-fatigue ang mga tao, and I speak for myself and I think for a lot of Filipinos na talagang napapagod ng staying indoors and nagka-quarantine. But, tama po ang sinabi ni Dr. Solate. Mayor Magalong, may tanong lang po ako, kung paano na po ang protocols natin ngayon 1 year in sa Baguio, no? As a mayor naman po, not as a czar. So how are we implementing this knowing na napapagod na po ang ating mga kababayan sa ating lockdown?
Well, we apply yung tinatawag nating hammer and dance concept. Ano? Pag nagkaroon ng surge, we're no longer looking at, by the way, we're no longer looking at the first wave, second wave. We are managing our multiple surges. Ano? It will be an up and down journey yan dito sa COVID-19 management. So, we apply the hammer and dance. Kung nagkaroon ng surge, hammer ka. Kung bumaba, then you dance. What do you mean by hammer? Pag tumaas, you have to reimpose yung inyong mga border control measures, pati mga curfew, you have to modify it. Yung ating social gatherings, you have again to modify it also so that you will prevent further mass gatherings among your residents. Pag gumanda naman ang panahon, ease up on all these restrictions. Ganun ang ginagawa namin. Tulad ngayon, tumaas ang cases namin. In fact, tumaas siya for the past 3 weeks, tumaas siya ng 100%. No? So that's very alarming. And kung titignan mo rin, it's not only in the city of Baguio, but also in other parts of this country, especially in areas where most of our tourists are coming from, because Baguio is a tourism-based industry. So ang ginawa namin ngayon, hinigpitan namin. Nagkaroon kami ng border control, naglabas ng IATF ng sinabi nilang hindi na pwedeng mag-subtest except for RT-PCR. Kung yan, impose naman namin yon, magsasuffer naman yung aming economy because kailangan i-balance mo na. It's been a year now, and if we continue to be risk-averse tayo, babagsak ang ekonomiya. Mas marami magsasuffer. While it is true na maproprotekta mo yung health ng mga tao, hirap naman sa ekonomiya, hirap din sa bulsa, psychosocial issues. Alam mo rin, may mga serious implications yan eh. So there you have, as a mayor, you have to strike a balance. So ang gagawin mo ngayon, now that we have a high number of cases, ang ginagawa ko ngayon is strict border control. We reimpose yung antigen despite the fact na sinabi ng RTF na bawal na yung ibang test except for RT-PCR. We ask for reconsideration, in-approval naman nila. So we will reimpose antigen ulit itong starting Friday, pero at a very reduced cost. From 1,300, bumaba na kasi ang cost ng antigen, 350 na lang. Ini-status ko naman, yung aming curfew at yung liquor ban because kailangan may protektahan din kaming sector na talagang nagpapatakbo ng ekonomiya. At the same time, talagang inigpitan na namin yung aming minimum public health standards and magiging ordinansa na rin pati yung face shield para aaresto kami, mape-penalize. So tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung aming risk communications, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung aming mga messaging sa aming mga social media at iba-ibang mga publication. So these are the things na ginagawa ng ating local government.
Sige po. Mayor, ito po may tanong po dito si Raymond Del Rosario. One low-hanging fruit that the government failed at is the lack of consistency in policies and implementation. One example is the different rules for securing a travel pass before it was nixed recently. Ano pong reaction niyo dito, Mayor?
Totoo naman yun. Nakaka-confuse kasi every LGU has its own policy and guidelines. So it confuses a lot of travelers, and tourists, visitors, and residents as well. Isipin mo, pupunta ka sa, let us say, galing ka sa Baguio, pupunta ka sa La Union, ibang policy. Pagpunta mo sa Pangasinan, ibang policy. Pagpunta mo sa Ilocos Norte, ibang policy. Kakabot ka talaga ng ulo. Ano? So yun ang isa sa mga issues, kaya ang ginawa ng ating DILG ngayon, tanggalin na lang muna lahat yan. Unang-una dahil sakit ng ulo. Ang mga tao, hirap na hirap na, grabe pa ang pila sa mga stadium. Besides, ang Philippine National Police does not have the core competence to process yung mga application for travel pass. In fact, dito sa Baguio, nung nagbinigay yung, ganun din sa ibang LGU, nung binigay sa PNP, yung travel pass, nagkamot yung PNP, sabi niya, paano namin iproprocess? Eh, wala naman kami network, wala pa kaming hardware, we're not prepared. So, ang ginawa ng mga LGU, okay, ganito na lang. Kami na lang magpa-process sa inyo, para sa inyo, pumirma na lang kayo. So, ganun, basically, ang nangyari, no? Mabuti na lang at tinanggal na rin yan para pantay-pantay na lang, pare-pareho na lang at hindi na magdulot ng confusion among our constituents, travelers, etc.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor. Cheska?
Yes. Kay Sir Jess naman po, no? Ayan. Sir, ano sa tingin nyo ang gandang balanse when it comes to protecting the health of our citizens at sa bubukas ng ekonomiya? You were mentioning the fulcrum earlier. How do we strike that balance po na health and wealth?
Tulad yung yung huling narinig ko, si Mayor Isko, mag-granular lockdown siya. Ang unang kanyang sinabi, yung ila-lockdown ko na kalye, huwag kayo mag-alala, magdadala ako ng pagkain araw-araw sa inyo. Merong kwan ng gobyerno na hindi magugutom, hindi mag-aalala yung mga ila-lockdown mo. No? Yun ang kwan yung fulcrum, yung kwan, kung kailangan tutulong naman ng sektor pribado dyan Yung kaya kami, umaalma kami, pag puro pananakot. Kasi yung pag tinatakot mo lalo ang tao, walang ginagawa Hindi uusog ang ating bayan No? Tulad na nga yan Isipin mo yung mga figures ngayon, mahigit a little over 12,000 ang namatay. No? Hindi ko naman minamaliit yan. No? Pag tinignan mo yung influensya ng 2018 tsaka pneumonia, ilan ang namatay? 12.5% ng mga namatay galing sa pneumonia tsaka influenza. Ilan yung 12.5 million? Mahigit 75,000 yun. Pandemya ba yun? No? That's why nandiyan yan, tulad sinabi ni Dr. Francis, let's disabuse our minds. No? Nandiyan yan lagi. No? Matatagal lang bago maalis yan. Tatakutin na lang yung tao, hindi gagalaw? No? We learn how to live with it. Kaya nandiyan lahat tayo. Magsama-sama. Nagkakaroon tayo ng mga fatigue because yung mga pandemic fatigue. Kailangan laging inuulit-ulit yan. Magkaroon ng enforcement. Alam mo ba sa Australia, nandoon yung anak ko, pag kayo nag-violate ng mga protocol sila, the fine can be as high as 5,000 Australian dollars. No? Wow. And they mean business. Especially yung nagka-problema ang Victoria, yung Melbourne. To a point, naging zero ang Melbourne. No? Yung nag-lockdown sila, nagkaroon ng epekto. At then again, yung nag-lockdown sila, well provided yung mga tao, no? Yung mga businesses, lalo yung mga maliliit, may mga incentives yan. Tulad ngayon, alam mo, anong mga insentibo nakukuha natin? No, lalo na sa mga mangangalakal na maliliit. Wala naman
So bali Sir Jess, kailangan na po nilang baguhin yung parusa nila na jumping jacks lang.
Sometimes that's how it is Pero hindi nawawala yung ayuda na tunay na ayuda. Kunyari, merong isang LGU magbibigay ng 1,000. Anong mangyayari sa 1,000?
Nako.
I mean, let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. No?
Sir Jess, maisingit ko lang chismis ko lang dito kasi naka-lockdown yung barangay namin. Walang binibigay na ayuda.
Yun.
Nagigets ko yung sinasabi niyo, sir.
Oo, kasi kung hindi, alam mo, kano katagal? No, kaya alam mo, the unemployment rate is pushing 10%. The underemployment is more than 17 to 20%. Just imagine that.
Kaya po.
You
Kayo
know,
po, Doc Francis.
ano magagawa
Sorry
natin
po, Sir
kaya
Jess.
binabalanse natin yung po pwede na. Alam mo, ako nanirahan sa Japan. Kahit yung panahon nun, yung mga sa health issues, naka-face mask na yung mga Hapon. Hindi nakikipag-usap yan sa loob ng tren o ng bus. Bakit hindi natin magawa? I-enforce sa mga barangay, yung mga kagawad, mga yun, siguraduhin nila, they can be transported anywhere if they follow those simple protocols. Baka makikipag-usap, wala kang droplets, naka-face mask ka, naka-face shield ka, no?
Opo.
Those are the things. This is the new normal.
Yeah. Ito po, Sir Jess. Mayor Benjie, quick lang po ano pong reaction niyo dun sa suggestions po ni Sir Jess?
Ay, sa vaccine? Vaccine
Doon po sa
striking the balance.
Balance po between economy and health. Yung mga ayuda na binibigay.
Tama naman yun. Meron kasi tinatawag na hard lockdown. Pag in-hard lockdown mo talaga walang makakalabas. Pati yung mga uppers, hindi pwedeng lumabas. Dahil nga mataas ang infection. So, ang decision ng local government to be able to control yung contain yung transmission in a hard lockdown, make sure na meron pagkain talaga. You have to provide everything to the residents. And at the same time, magbibigay ka rin sa kanila ng mga mask, all the provisions na kailangan nila. Mask, face shield, kailangan mo ibigay lahat. Pero depende rin yan sa local government. Hanggang saan bang kaya? Hindi naman pare-pareho ang yaman ng bawat local government. May mga local government na talagang baon na baon sa utang, hirap na hirap mag-produce ng mga ganitong mga provisions. Yun ang challenge. Hindi katulad ng iba dyan sa NCR that they have a lot of, companies na talagang malakas ang kanilang corporate social responsibility that they provide all these provisions to our affected residents. Kaya yun. So, again, pero ang basic natin na dapat gawin ng local government is to provide all provision. Basta nag-lockdown, dapat pakainin nila yan. Dahil kaawawa yung mga tao.
Ayan. Maraming salamat sa lahat nating mga guests for their reactions, no? Okay.
Yes, Doc Francis?
Kasi nagulat ako dun sa sagot ni Dr. Solante na ang target daw nila 100% ng mga priority groups ang babakunahan nila. I'm flabbergasted, alam mo, Dr. Solante. Miski sa successful eradication ng smallpox, hindi 100% sila. I don't know where you got this figure. Do you know that, I don't know kung nag-burden of disease study kayo tsaka nag-cost-benefit analysis kayo, before you compute how many people you want to vaccinate. And when I use the figures made by the Secretary Huwebes, I'm estimating if we were to vaccinate these people, kung target nyo, 17% na kasi yung ginamit niya sa public, you'll be spending $5 billion only to combat COVID-19. Sana nagtanong muna kayo sa health economists, no? Hindi pwede kayong nangangarap na wala kayong basihan historically and even cost-benefit analysis or even BOD. Doctor, that's why I'm asking you, where did you get that figure? What success story are you talking about? Nagbakuna in any part of the world, nagbakuna mo 100%. Anong country? Ha? Anong country ang nakabakuna mo 100%? Even the States, which is a third world country, na may pera at magdustay na tatlo, makabakuna ng 300 million people, may pera sila, hindi magagambala ang economy natin. But you spend 5 billion only to target 7. Now you're telling me 100% ang gusto nyo target? You have to go back to your school. I'm sorry to say that.
Okay, Dr. Francis, thank you. Maybe si Dr. Solante can give a reaction now. Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, so that's from the National Deployment of Vaccination Program of the government. That's coming from me. I'm just quoting the National Vaccination Deployment Program. To quote again, US targeted 100%. Israel is targeting 100%. US, yeah. So I mean sir, hindi naman pwedeng hindi tayo mangarap ng ganun sir eh, no? So everyone, even Indonesia, even other Asian countries is targeting that, no? So that's in a three sa atin kasi medyo poor tayo. The phases of deployment 70% for 2021, 30% remaining for 2022, and then the remaining 2% will be in 2023. So that's in phases.
Oh yeah, but Cheska, 1 minute lang kasi we're talking about man here. Eh, no? I'm just saying, dapat hindi tayo mangarap kasi buhay to ng tao. Dapat pinaplano natin na may basihan na scientifico at historically. Meron tayong hindi, ang bakuna sa atin hindi bago eh. Pero itong ginagamit natin, Dr. Solante, na sinasabi mo, ito, miski ano itong 7, wag na natin specify ang vaccine. Itong 7, remember, there are new and experimental. Hindi ito katulad ng measles vaccine, oral polio vaccine, di ba? Na so many decades nag-prove na naka-decrease ng infection at disease. Hindi pwede pa tayo blindly susunod sa mga kumukumpas sa inyo. At kaya nga pa ikot-ikot tayo. Last point po, if you will allow me. Last 1 minute lang po. I am in the position, I consider myself as a public health vaccination expert. I am categorically saying that vaccination of these new and experimental drugs, new experimental vaccines, is not the safest, it's not the most effective, it's not the most cost-benefit intervention. Meron po pong iba, sinasabi na nga yun ni Jess Varela, sinasabi na nga yun ni Mayor, makinig po kayo. Yung vaccine na pinupush nyo, hindi ko maintindihan eh. Bakit pinupush nyo? Tapos hindi nyo naintindihan kung magkano gagastos. Madi-displace nito ang gastos sa HIV, sa reproductive health, sa other infectious diseases, and sa chronic diseases. Kasi ang budget lang po ng DOH for all the programs, alam mo magkano? Almost 200 billion, right? But if you're gonna spend 5 billion in 3 years, wala pa yung papasok na sinasabi ko. Ultimately, your vaccines will require booster doses every year. Okay. So yung mga nabakunahan mo, Dr. Salante, ito, para maintindihan lang, 1 minute na ba? 1 minute. Para maintindihan ng publiko, yung nabakunahan mo na 20% this year, tapos babakunahan pa na nila ng 40% next year, hindi po yung ganun ang immunization. Hindi ganun. It doesn't make sense. Hindi po addition to. Because you will have people who will have expected vaccine failures. Meron po kayong vaccine failure eh. Inirin po yan.
Sige po.
So paano hindi mo kakalimutan yan? Yung booster dose, yung pagbili. Yun po nang sinasabi ko, na maging realistic tayo. Wala kang burden of disease. Walang cost-benefit analysis. Di ba?
Can I just say something?
Thank you.
No, kasi,
yes, Sir Jess. 1 minute po.
Kasi masyado tayong vaccine-centric. Maraming, ako personally alam na naggumaling, symptomatic. Mahigit 1,000, isang doktor, hindi ko sasabihin ng pangalan. Ginamit niya linwa. Mahigit 1,000. Marami akong kaibigan na gumamit ng ivermectin. 100% siya, no? Pero anong sinasabi ng doktor? Huwag mong sasabihin na ginagamit ko pero lahat ng nabigyan ko, okay. Okay lahat. So, I mean, why don't we look into these things, Kahit sa Amerika, nag-umpisa na, sa Europa, nag-uumpisa na rin. Okay. Although yung sa ivermectin, 2 klase yan. Meron pang hayop, meron pang tao, no? These are fun eh.
Okay.
Point taken, Sir Jess.
Let us explore all the options and not be only vaccine-centric. Pero ako, magpapabakuna ako.
Okay. Very good, Sir Jess. Okay, last na lang po. Reaction from Dr. Solante from both gentlemen.
Very quickly, and then we have to move on to our next segment na po. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead,
so
Dr.
first of all, I would like to thank for this opportunity to inform the public and give also the way we look at the pandemic and what are the possibilities, the current scenario, and what are the important things that we need to do aside from the health protocol mentioned about vaccine. So balance the the program in terms of opening up the economy, because I think if we don't open up the economy, then a lot of people will be hungry. So that's just my point. And again, thank you for guesting me, and also thank you for the other guest here.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Alright, let's move on to our next segment. Ang segment na ito ay tinatawag na Sinong Nasang Quote. No? It's a quick activity where we will be flashing quotes by known people. Tapos huhulaan po natin kung sino ang nagsabi ng quote na ito. No? So, napakadali lang po. And then maybe we can give a very quick 1-minute reaction to our quotes na ipa-flash natin. Alright, James, let's start with our first quote. Yes, James.
Opo, pang-diffuse lang po ng tension. Hinga po tayo malalim, sir.
Iinom daw muna ng tubig si Doc Francis, no? Okay, so, eto na, po, ang first quote natin. Go ahead, James.
Yes, for Mayor Magalong, ito po ang quote ay, it's so disappointing to note na it's been a year and we could hardly see yung malaking paglukso o pagtalo natin para iwasan o makipag-split tayo sa COVID. Tingin niyo po, Mayor Magalong, sino po ang nagsabi nito?
Well, parang si Doc Francis ang tingin ko nagsabi. Well, I can understand. I can understand his disappointment. Assuming na siya, I can understand his disappointment. Kasi nga talagang it's happening. After all this after all this lockdown, all this, courses of action that we have been taking, biglang nagkaroon tayo ng surge. Pero alam niyo naman, there are different factors kung bakit nagkaroon tayo ng surge.
All right. So, thank you for your guess, Mayor, and for your comment. But the correct answer is Senator Joel Villanueva nagsabi nito. But for the very fun guess, we give you 1 point. All right.
Next
is for Dr. Solante na.
Ito naman po ang quote nyo, Doc Solante. Kahit anong curfew o liquor ban ang gawin, if we see people in government freely traveling to beaches and resorts and organizing public gatherings as if everything is back to normal, talagang magre-relax din ang mga tao. Tingin nyo po, Doc Solante, sino po ang nagsabi nito?
Mahirap. Ano ba to? Si Isko ba to? So,
alright.
Abo natin kung tama ang inyong guess.
Okay. Ang tamang sagot ay si Senator Nancy Binay. Ayan, recently lang to nag-viral yung quote niya na to eh. But any reaction, Doc?
Yeah, tama naman. I think the importance of that statement is really the the behavior of the people. Nag-relax tayo, no? Nagre-relax, and that's the reason why there is ongoing transmission.
Iyon. And unfortunately, hindi na matatapos ni Doc Solante ang ating show dahil meron pa siyang prior engagement at 9 p.m. Pero thankful kami, Doc Solante, that you were able to join us. Maraming salamat po sa pagpapaunlak ng aming imbitasyon. Last message na lang po bago kayo umalis, Doc Solante.
So, panatiliin natin, no, na susunod tayo sa mga sinasabi ng mga eksperto, especially for the implementation at saka yung strict adherence ng protocols natin, no, health protocols. At saka yung pangbabakuna, napaka-importante din yan in order for us to be protected. Lahat tayo ngayon are hopeful na vaccines will be available, and hopefully in the priority group, aside from the frontline healthcare workers, the next priority group will be the elderly. So yun lang po, at saka maraming salamat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Solante, for gracing our show.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Solante.
Thank you.
Isa kayong bayani ng sa mga frontliners.
Ayan.
Alright.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's proceed to our next quote. James, please read the quote.
Ito naman po ay para kay Doc Francis. We were excellent. We controlled the spread of the disease, especially when compared to richer countries with modern hospitals. Doc Francis, tingin niyo sino po nagsabi nito?
Kakasakit lang dito. si spokesperson. Nakasakit ka eh. Di ba naka-isolate siya ngayon? Oo, si spokesperson yan. Tama ba ako?
Ayan. And the answer is yes, tama po. Si Spokes po ang nagsabi
Short-
nun. Any reaction?
Short
Yes.
po sa sinabi ni Spoke.
Excellent.
Okay, nice. Short and
Word
sweet.
talaga.
Let's Okay, let's proceed to our next quote, James.
Alright, ito naman po, last but not the least, para kay Sir Jess Varela. Ito naman po, sabi niya, I did the math. As of March 10, nasa 114,615 na ang na-vaccinate. Kung hindi mag-accelerate yung pace ng vaccination at assuming na darating lahat yung supply na ine-expect for 70 million targeted population to achieve herd immunity, then we'll have a problem because aabutin tayo ng 2033 at the rate we're doing it now. Tingin niyo po, sino po nagsabi nito, Sir Jess?
Hindi ba si Pingkoy Duque?
Tingnan muna natin, Sir Jess.
Ang tamang sagot ay
Napalakas ang
si
tawa ni Doc
Senator
Francis.
Ping Lacson. Ayan. Any reaction po sa comment na ito, Sir Jess?
Ha? Ay, hindi naman siguro 2033. Sobra naman yun. You know? Ang problema lang natin, dumating yung mga bakuna. No? Malamang marami na nag-reject ng AstraZeneca, dadating na yun sa atin.
Alright.
Okay. Ayan, so that concludes our game. Thank you so much. At may mga nag-guest din sa ating audience, no? So congrats sa mga nakakuha ng tamang sagot. I guess may bragging rights kayo dahil alam niyo yung memorize niyo yung mga quotes na yun. Now, James, I think it's time for us to answer our questions from the audience. So kanina nagpapadala sila ng mga questions. Ayun, starting with Byron Mendoza.
Ito po
Ayan.
ang sabi ni Byron Mendoza, Isang Cool Pals. Anong masasabi nyo sa tweet ni Senator Lacson sa mga loans na ginawa ng Philippine government for the vaccines, and kung nasaan na yung mga vaccines na supposed to be pinambili ng mga loans na yun? Sino po ang gustong sumagot dito? Para kanino ba itong tanong na ito, Cheska?
Ako na siguro sasagot.
Sige po, Sir Mayor.
Alam mo, karamihan ng mga loans na ito bigay ng ADB at World Bank. At ang maganda naman dito, meron due diligence. Hindi basta-basta babayaran ng ating ng ADB at World Bank unless talaga nakita nila reasonable ang price. Hindi ito dadaan from ADB, dadaan pa sa isang ahensya ng gobyerno at yung ahensya ng gobyerno na mag-disburse ng pondo. Diretso yan. Ganyan ang sistema to ensure na talagang good governance, there's transparency, and there's accountability. Ang problema nga lang is yung supply. Kaya nga umiikot ngayon si Secretary Galvez, kagaling lang niya sa India to negotiate para do sa Covaxin. And now, meron tayong assured na more than 10 million na Covaxin para to supplement yung mga orders natin coming from China, coming from Europe, and coming from the US. Dahil nga talaga nagkakaubusan ng supply because it's a worldwide event na nangyayari, and everybody would like to get as many vaccine as possible. At ito pang mga first world countries natin, gusto pa nilang solohin, o kaya mas marami sa kanila. We cannot blame them. It is now a power play. So talagang kailangan gagalaw talaga. So again, it's a supply issue at the moment for 2021, and hopefully everything will ease up by 2022. But we're doing our best. Being a member of the NTF, yung grupo ni Secretary Galvez, I saw the dedication, I saw the commitment, I saw the hard work. Nakikita ko sa kanila. Thank you.
Saka Mayor Benjie.
Sir Jess.
Sa tingin ko parang DLC yan demand letter of credit Walang dumadaan sa gobyerno, lumalapan
Yes, wala po.
Documentation lang na umiikot, it's a letter of credit. So pagdating nung babayad, demand nung manufacturer, kukunin niya sa ADB o sa World Bank. Kaya walang hinahawakan ng gobyerno natin.
Wala po dyan. Tsaka pala, James, I just would like to add, just add 1 minute lang.
Yes po.
Na tama yung sinasabi ni Sir Jess. Sana, bigyan ng konting leeway ang private sector na mag-procure. Kasi alam mo, marami silang network Marami silang network. Believe me, grabe. Yung pagdating lang ng Sinovac, hindi naman dumaan yan sa tripartite agreement. You know, it comes from an initiative of a private person or several private person. They will be able to bring in, itong Sinopharm dito sa Pilipinas. Thank you.
Yan. Ito naman po, thank you Mayor Magalong. At ito naman po Sir Jess, itong tanong na to tingin ko para sa inyo po ito. Tanong po ito ni Roma Tejero. Ask ko po, ano-ano ang mga advices nyo para sa mga kababayan natin na stress na po dahil sa pandemyang ito? Lalo na po yung mga taong nawala ng work.
Kasi ganito ang trend kasi ngayon yung digitalization. No? Tulad dito, ito mga statistika. Nung 2 linggo mula Marso hanggang Marso, 2 buwan Marso at Abril last year, merong 317,000 websites na nagbukas. Karamihan niya marketplaces. All of a sudden, yung what should be a 5 to 10 year gestation period on our road to digitalization, na-abbreviate yan. So, anong ginagawa namin ngayon? Kami sa Philippine Chamber, nagtayo kami ng Innovation Center. Ngayon, nakipag-ugnayan kami sa Huawei, nagbibigay kami sa mga micro, small, and medium industries ng libreng kurso kung paano from the basic all the way to cloud computing, artificial intelligence. Libre lahat yan. Meron ding kurso para doon sa mga gusto magnegosyo at paano gamitin ang ating internet at mga bagong mga pamamaraan. Meron kaming app design, app development para magagamit nyo sa mga negosyo niyan. Ginagawa namin yan kasi nakikita namin nandoon na ang papunta. Kasi kailangan you will have to think out of the box and there are so many technological changes outside us. Sabi nga nung General Electric dating chairman si Jack Welch, kung itong mga changes ay napakarami, it's significantly more sa labas than ikaw hindi ka nag-a-adapt. The end is near. That's why you have to keep up. Kaya kami, we are empowering and educating people now, especially the micro and small industries, to get into this digital world. Yan ang buhay, nandiyan ang logistics, warehousing, lahat na yan. No?
Yan. It's time to move forward. Ibig sabihin yan Sir Jess. Kailangan hindi na tayo nagmumukmok. Ito naman po, tanong galing kay Romel Lalu. What can you say about the British, sorry, hindi ko makita. Ivermectin Recommendation Development or BIRD group, which recently submitted its findings to the WHO regarding the safety and efficacy of ivermectin as a treatment option for COVID-19. I think this question is for Doc Francis.
First of all, I haven't seen a patient since 1990, no? So I'm not a good clinician. Namatay pa yata yung huling pasyente ko noon eh. What I could say is, I agree kay sabi ni Jess kanina and I like to paraphrase what he said. Let's not put our eggs of correct prevention and control of COVID into a basket of vaccines, of this new experimental. Dapat mayroon karoon tayong innovation. Kasi sinabi nga niya, inulit lang nung question nung nanonood sa atin. Marami pa po. Sa Israel, marami sila nagawa. Yung sa Taiwan po, marami ding nakukuha mga intervention, public health intervention not this, ito kasi cure Ito pwedeng public health. Yung PGH, may findings na ang stimulation, similarly yung medyo ginagawa sa Cebu, pwede daw parang pag-reduce ng viral load. So basically, marami pong mga innovation na nangyari. Dapat ito pagsama-samahin at tignan as a whole. Ano pwede mag-cut? Kaya sabi ko I have to stick out my neck for it. Vaccine is not the best solution to this COVID-19 problem. Behavioral change. Yung sinasabi ni Jess na, I'm gonna use this word because I was glad he used this word, empowering. We must empower the families, the communities, and the laborers. Yung pong kaya napapagod na yung tao, dinidiktahan ng gobyerno, sinasabi niyo minimum health standard. Ibang ano po yun ibang school of thought yun sa CAPSEN, tawag namin knowledge, attitude, practice, skills, training. Ito, sinasabi namin, yung health promotion community base, yun po ang subok na ginawa ng Pilipinas at ibang countries na nagkaroon ng social change with regards to health problems. Ito pong sinasabi nilang health protocols, hindi po ito, wala. I'm sorry, sana maparating mo, Mayor, sa IFF, wala po itong precedent. Itong protocol na nag-stay at nag-stick at nagkaroon ng behavioral change sa community, sa farms, wala pong precedent ng gano'n. Kaya nagkakaroon sila, ang tawag ko nga doon, nagkakaroon sila, Mayor, ng BSDU eh. Alam natin ang BSDU, di ba? Balik sa dating ugali. Diba? Nagagalit na nga sila pinagbibintangan eh. Pag nagkakaroon, di ba? Nagagalit sa pagbibintangan sila eh. Kung in-empower natin sila, tinuruan natin sila, in-improve natin health literacy nila, eh di mas maganda yon. Kasi yung nagsasabi ang DOH, health protocol, wala po history sa public health na ang health protocol na from top to down imposed, tapos police power pa, nagkaroon ng social change, social behavioral change. Wala po. Sana nagbabasa din yung mga nasa IFF at pinagbabasihan yung ini-implement na merong tawag natin dito prinsipyo eh. Primary healthcare po ito eh. Sana binabasa niyo po yung Alma Ata Declaration ng 1978. As like tayo nagbabasa ng Biblia to guide us, meron pong mga sinulat na dati pa na yun po ang gabay. And unfortunately, wala na eh. Ano na eh, parang tingin ko hula-hula na lang. Yun na, I'm sorry to say, kaya I'm very glad si Jess is talking the same sense from a businessman's point of view sa kanya. Pero he uses the word empowering. Yung po sagot ng any major health problem sa isang bansa. We should empower the families and communities.
Thank you, Doc Francis. Yes,
tungkol
Sir
sa
Jess.
ivermectin, hindi nga ako doktor, no? Pero ito, galing sa mga testimonya ng mga kakilala namin, malapit at ang ibang mga kaibigan, no? Dalawang klase yan, meron pang hayop, meron pang tao. Ito yung para dun sa mga parasites na dating pumipeligro, lalo na dun sa mga bansang Africa, no? It has been approved, napakamura at ayon sa mga testimonya ng nakilala namin at hanggang ngayon gumagamit for protection, na matagal nang gumagamit, okay yung sa kanila. Except that syempre, alam mo naman, maraming mga agam-agam, lalo na sa larangan ng medisina. At meron din tayong problema, yung tinatawag naming regulatory capture, yung mga pharma capture. Baka dahil napakamura nito, pinipigilan din, no? Kaya ang sinasabi ko, we have to embark and explore all the possibilities, no? Kasi we have to get out of those chains of those regulatory capture ng mga big pharma rin.
Thank you, Sir Jess.
Maybe in a different show, we can have all the experts in and talk about that, no? But right now, let's turn to our next question. Sorry for disappearing also suddenly. This is from Jeneline Fernandez. Ano po ba sa tingin nyo para mapasunod ang mga nakakarami para mas maging maayos ang mapasunod ang mga tao? Kay Mayor Magalong. Yes.
Well, it's all about leadership. Leadership by example. There's no substitute.
Yes. That's true. Yan. Thank you so much. Short and sweet, no? But very powerful. Thank you, James. Thank you, Mayor. All right. So I think at this point, James, we can ask our final question na to our guests.
Yes. Ito po, final question para sa ating mga guests. Sa kasulukuyan nating sitwasyon, isang taon buhat nang magsimula ang lahat ng ito, nasabi na po ni Mayor Magalong, leadership. Kung kayo po ang presidente, ano ang inyong gagawin o ipatutupad upang masolusyonan ang pandemyang ito?
Maybe we can start with Doc Francis.
Ayan.
I like to quote yung, kasi importante ito eh. I like to quote yung isang post ko. If you allow, it's just one paragraph. And I'd like to reiterate. The only appropriate technology, according to the 1978 Alma Ata Declaration, or what they call primary health care, in safely and effectively, sustainably preventing COVID-19 outbreaks among healthy susceptibles, which is around 99%, is improving their health literacy through community-based health promotion. Therefore, they could change their behavior through continuous learning healthy behavior. Yun po sagot. Hindi po yung health protocol, pagkatapos nagkaroon ng surge, pagbibintanga agad yung mga family, komunidad, na kasi matigas ang ulo o hindi sumusunod, di ba? Dapat hindi po ganun. Improve natin ang health literacy. Tignan mo, lahat yan susunod. Maintindihan nila, hindi naman totoo ang tao eh. At sinasabi ko, itong style po itong improving health literacy, meron ng dalawang model na ginawa sa buong sa Pilipinas po noong 1978 at itong 1995. Yun po ang ginawa nila. Wala po silang sinasabing minimum health protocol. Binigyan nila ng na in-empower nila yung families and communities. Yun lang po ang akin. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Doc Francis. Kayo naman po, Doc Solante. I'm sorry, si Sir Jess.
Unang-una, ako'y naniniwala na napakatino ng aking pag-iisip na ayaw ko maging presidente. No? Kaya para malinaw. Okay. Malinaw yan, no? Kaya kung sakasakali man, hindi ko competent. This is not my core competence. I will have to rely on the experts, the science, and also look at the practicality. There is much knowledge that we need to bring into ourselves and impart to our citizenry. Ano man yan, no? Kasi hindi ako pwede magmagaling eh. Siguro sa negosyo, tanungin niyo ako, mabibigyan ko kayo ng advice, no? Pero alam mo yan, I will have to rely on the better knowledge of the experts. At the same time, the practicality of knowing things, and exploring possibilities. We will not, hindi natin isasara ang ating kaisipan, para hanapin at sundan, nang walang pananakot o paggawa ng mga ibang malalaking dambuhalang mga kung sino-sino man sila, gagawin natin to para sa tao.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Jess. And finally, Mayor Magalong.
Well, I share the view of Sir Jess na wala talaga tayo ambition, but it's something hypothetical. So let me respond to it. With the recent development dito sa surges on the number of cases, and then it looks like something has gone wrong. Let's admit that something has gone wrong, despite the fact that there is a sincere effort to really address and manage COVID-19. Something has gone wrong, and we have already gathered all our department heads, all the bright people in government. Pero hindi pa rin natin naayos yung sitwasyon. Probably it's about time that you need to confer with the other people in the other private sector, business sector, other experts in the, not outside of the government. Probably they have the different perspective, different view, different types of solutions. Friend and foe, opposition man o hindi. Bring them all together. Meron nga sinasabi na you don't have to deal with friend or foe, but instead you can deal with friend and foe. Not necessarily to compete. Ang nangyari kasi sa atin is, most of the time we think that we're competing because we try to protect our interests. But there's such thing as competing and collaborating. Not necessarily competing or collaborating. I did not say or I would like to emphasize it's and. Competing and collaborating. So probably it's about time na bring everyone together, hear the words of some people, hear the views of people, sharing our thoughts, sharing our insights, and probably with that kind of, with that kind of approach, we'll be able to come up with a better solution. So, yun lang masasabi ko. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Magalong. Napakaganda po ng mga sinabi niyo kay Doc Francis, Sir Jess Valera, and Mayor Magalong. Ito po ang natutunan ko dito sa episode na to. Very eye-opening itong episode na to. Kasi natutunan ko dito is managing expectations. Kasi last year, ang sinasabi pa natin, minimum health protocols. Pero nagkaroon tayo ng kakaibang perspective. galing sa ating mga guests. Kasi last year nga, nagsimula yung lockdown. Lahat tayo iniisip natin na 2 weeks lang to, 2 weeks lang, kakain ako ulit ng masarap after 2 weeks. Pero look at us now, 1 year na. And kagaya ng sinabi ni Doc Francis kanina, mangyayari ito until the next decade, 2 decades, based on history. So, yung expectation natin, i-manage natin. Yan ang itanim natin sa utak natin para makapag-adjust tayo lahat at hindi na tayo bumalik ulit doon sa sinabi ni Doc Francis kanina na balik sa dating ugali. Ayan. Maraming salamat po sa ating maraming salamat po sa ating mga guests. Doc Francis, Cruz, Sir Jess Varela, and Mayor Benjie Magalong.
Ayan. Maraming salamat din sa iyo, James, no? At maraming salamat sa lahat ng mga nanood. And as promised, sinabi ko kanina at the beginning of our show na magbibigay kami meron kaming pwede kang magkaroon ng chance na manalo ng 2,000 pesos via GCash. Handa ka na bang Sir Jess, pag-usapan po natin yan backstage. Pero handa ka na bang yes po.
Mayor Benjie, may discrimination dito.
Mamaya mag-usapan natin, sir. Alright. Ayan. Okay, eto po. Pwede kayong manalo ng 2,000 pesos via GCash. Sumali lamang sa aming Facebook group. Hanapin nyo ang online Crashtalkan community. Pero sa ating mga guests, very welcome din kayo sumali sa ating Facebook group, no? Search nyo lang yan sa Facebook at ililink yan ng ating mga moderators dyan sa comment section. At hanapin nyo ang post na ito. Ipa-flash natin sa screen. Ay, ang post na yan, hanapin nyo dun sa ating Facebook community. Tapos, i-ready ang inyong mga then and now photos at sagutin ang katanungang ano ang magaganda namang nagbago sa inyo sa isang taon ng lockdown, no? Let's try to also look for something positive, no, dito sa nangyari sa ating 1 year na lockdown. Ayan, hanapin nyo lang post na ito at i-comment lang doon ang sagot na yun. Pwede kayong mag-submit ng up to 3 entries para syempre more chances of winning. Mamimili kami ng best answer at siya yung mananalo ng 2,000 pesos via GCash. So, kita-kits dun sa ating Facebook group. Ayan, nananatili ang ating bayan ang may pinakamatagal na lockdown sa buong bansa. Ngunit hindi ibig sabihin nito ay mananatiling lockdown ang ating mindset tungkol sa pag-move forward. Ayan, dito sa Online Crashtalkan, patuloy nating pagsikapan ang pagtutulungan kontra sa pandemya. Isang paraan upang magawa ito ay ang paggamit ng ating mga social media platforms as the main medium sa pag-share ng mga reliable and factual information upang mas mapaigting ang iba't ibang health and safety protocols to minimize the spread of the virus. Kaya let's keep everyone safe by using tech for good para sa hindi lang responsable, pero pati na rin sa isang healthy na DigiNation. Maraming salamat ulit sa inyong lahat, sa ating mga guests, sa lahat ng mga nanood, kay James as usual. To everybody, stay safe. No, hindi pa rin tapos ang ating laban kontra COVID. Please stay safe. Try to stay indoors as much as you can. Ayun, and we'll see you in our next episode. Kung may mga topics or issues or subjects kayo na gusto nyo pag-usapan, please feel free to comment them dyan sa ating comment section. Ituloy natin ating usapan, lalo na sa ating Facebook community, dahil namimigay nga kami ng 2,000 pesos doon. At huwag kalimutan, i-like at i-follow ang page sa for PA sa Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at Twitter na rin kami. So, kita-kits tayo doon. Once again, my name is Cheska. We'll see you in our next episode. Bye, everyone!
Bye!
Binabati ko si Mayor Benjie. Congratulations for a good job, ha? Idol.
Yes. Yes, Mayor.
Okay.